And welcome in to Vikings Vent Line, part of the Purple Daily umbrella of podcasts. You can find us live like we are right now on youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast. You can also find us on demand in audio form, Apple, Spotify, scorenorth.com. I'm Phil Mackey. Judd Zolgad is at US Bank Stadium. Declan Goff is taking your emails. If you want to join the show, vikingsventline@gmail.com. We'll bring fans into the show, but a quick shout out to our Ventline sponsor all season long and some celebratory Corona hard seltzer, spiked sparkling water with natural flavors imported by Crown Import, Chicago, Illinois. Declan, what flavor of celebratory seltzer are we drinking today?
Oh, we're drinking the tropical lime, Phil. It's tropical lime. I told Judd I was in a no-lose situation. Yes, I wanted Teddy to complete the comeback, but you know what? It's okay because Corona Hard Seltzer powers all these takes, whether they're wrong or right by me. So thank you to Corona Hard Seltzer for powering these takes.
Declan's still rooting for the Vikings to tank, even though that ship has sailed. We'll bring your comments into the video as well. So if you're commenting on Score North Facebook or on Purple Daily YouTube, we can pull those in as Adnan is shocked that Kirk Cousins and company made a game-winning drive. Judd, real quick, before we start bringing some of the listeners in, of course, this was a great day for me to tweet a bunch of Kirk Cousins' terrible inside 4 minutes to go in the game stats. Old Tweets Exposed is probably going to have a field day with that. But Kirk Cousins with his second fourth-quarter comeback victory as a Viking since signing here 3 years ago.
You inspired him, Phil. I mean, take credit here. He woke up today, he saw those tweets, and he thought, you know what? I have no idea who this clown is, but I'm going to show him. No, I mean, this was, where do you start? Like, this is one of the worst football games I've watched that was actually in some sort of sick, twisted way entertaining, because there were so many twists and turns and different things and questionable decisions on both sides from a coaching staff standpoint, and Teddy's return, which got off to an absolutely brutal start. Dalvin Cook again fumbles and gets hurt, but he's not really hurt. He comes back. But yeah, I mean, Kirk, you know what? No matter what the circumstances, after the conversations that we've had about the Titans game, Seattle game, and then last week against Dallas, when we just said lead a game-winning late drive, Kirk, with, I believe, 1:51 on the clock, got the ball back, 0 timeouts because the Vikings had used all of their timeouts and led a drive that we had requested now for basically months. So in that vein, good on Kirk.
And I just think we should take this moment to address the Kirk Cousins naysayers out there. You guys all doubted him. We've been on the Kirk bandwagon the entire time here on Purple Daily. Never a doubt on Kirk Cousins. In fact, I think there's some time on Victory Monday and Tuesday. I'm thinking maybe a little bit of a 3-year extension tacked on. All you Kirk Cousins doubters out there, eat it. That's right. You like how that tastes, Mackey? As Mike Zimmer said last week?
You are missing the key fact. That is that the third guy on this show, Declan Goff, I believe said, stop trying to make Chad Beebe happen like 2 weeks ago. Declan, what more do you want? A fumble on a punt, and then he comes back and makes a couple of key catches, including his first career, I believe, National Football League touchdown catch. You know, Declan Goff, you owe a lot of an apology here to a guy who was a standout and made a key catch. You know what I say? Keep Chad Beebe happening because this kid's spectacular. Who needs Thielen when you got
Agreed.
Chad Beebe?
Agreed. Oh Declan, Declan's the one that needs to apologize on the show. So.
Oh, yeah. It took him, like 4 years to finally get that first touchdown and really cost the game on the punt. Yeah, congratulations.
Won the game.
For doing your job once. Congratulations, buddy.
Listen, so a nice little bookend, you know, at the start of the game in terms of punt returns. So Beebe, forgets that he can call for a fair catch on that first punt return. Like, all he would have had to have done is throw his arm up in the air. Instead, defender, and it wound up being a penalty, but the defender trucks him. I don't know how he hung on to that. And so what I was going to say is, at the very least, at the end of the game, at least he figured out the fair catch thing. All right. So you can't ask a guy to do too many things in one afternoon. And then he comes back and he scores the game-winning touchdown. So the Vikings, as we sit here, and we'll shut up here in a second, and we'll bring some guests into the show. If you want to join, email vikingsventline@gmail.com. This is the most interactive show in Minnesota sports. It's part of the Score North network of content. You can also find Mackey and Judd in podcast form and our 2 YouTube channels, youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast and youtube.com/ScoreNorthMN. The Cardinals also lost in last-second fashion today to the Patriots. And so if you're scoreboard watching, the Vikings have to climb over Chicago just to get into the conversation. But they're only a game back of the Cardinals, who now fall to 6-5 for that last wild card spot. So,
and what does that say about the National Football League in 2020 after the game that we just watched? What does that say? That a team, I mean, this game was only fun to watch because it was so sick, like ill, like should have been put to sleep game. Yeah, this speaks volumes about the lack of good teams when a team like the Vikings can still be competing for a playoff spot after what we just saw, which is I've got a notebook full basically of what were you thinking? What were you doing? What's going on here? And you, to Phil's point, are still in a playoff chase. It's incredible.
So we'll get to some of. There's so many things to talk about off this game, but the Vikings win. Dex, let's start bringing some guests into the show here. Who do we got?
Sure, Jay. Jay's hard at work right now, but he's calling into Vikings vent line from some factory. Jay, what's going on, dude?
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, what's up, Jay?
I can't hear you because I've been screwing with my audio, but I think you got it now. Damn. Darn. I've been watching the game. I had the phone to the side of me all day at work, and man, I feel like they game planned for that 2-minute comeback. I think they've seen that as something they've been terrible at, and they're like, you know what? We're going to be in this situation again. This is what we're going to do. And it looked great. Kirk Cousins looked great on that final drive.
That's probably. Oh, by the way, Jay, thanks for thinking of us while you're hard at work here. You got the hard hat on. You've got the lunch pail rocking.
Jay does real work.
Quitting time.
It's quitting time.
So, yep.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. It was definitely Kirk Cousins. I mean, there's not that many like 2-minute drives to choose from in his Vikings career. You know, there's been a few, and I've got the stats here. I'll throw them out there just so we can have a field day with these. But there's been a few where he's taken the lead or led the offense at some point in the fourth quarter. The Dallas game a couple times, and then the defense, gives up a late score. The Russell Wilson goes 95 yards or something. But these are the stats that I tweeted out 2 hours before the game, according to StatHead.com. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I spent my entire Thanksgiving weekend just fighting with people on Twitter about Kirk Cousins. And for me, anyways, and I think Judd agrees on this, it's been frustrating that he is so incapable when you strip away the Dalvin Cook crutch and you strip away some of the great play calling by Gary Kubiak early in games, when it's pass only and it's late and other teams know what the Vikings are going to do. The best quarterbacks who get paid the most rise above adversity and they carry their team down the field more often than Kirk does, which is basically never. And the point I was trying to prove statistically, I found this on stathead.com. When the Vikings coming into this game, when the Vikings are behind by one score or tied, so when they have a chance to win inside of 4 minutes, fourth quarter overtime, Kirk's passer rating is 53.5, which is 43rd in the NFL since he signed with the Vikings. And the only guys below him are like Sam Darnold is like a 17.9. Teddy's actually below him. There's a handful of guys below him. So he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. 4 minutes and under, one score down or tied, chance to sway the game the other way. This was the exact scenario today, the exact scenario that I and we have been calling for Kirk to step up. And he did, and he deserves major props for doing it. Let's not go completely overboard. This team still has a ton of work to do. And there's a bunch of people in the comment section on YouTube saying like, all right, they're still below 500. But for today, this was the main criticism that I had for Kirk Cousins. And he shut me up for today. And he deserves a round of applause for pulling out his second come-from-behind win in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he did a nice job. Mm-hmm. Yes. So you're right, Phil, in what you're saying, but the comments are right too, because of the fact that we did see a lot of things today that need to be cleaned up and or fixed I've got questions if they can be fixed. I mean, this defense at times looks absolutely atrocious right now. It's back to looking, they can't tackle at times. Why Chris Jones is continuing to play is beyond me. Like, I can't come up with a plausible explanation. He today on the first Carolina touchdown, Chris Jones turned around and ran with his guy, never looked back upfield to realize the pass had gone short, and was actively resulting in a 41-yard touchdown as Chris Jones chased his guy into the end zone and actually greeted the guy that scored. It was very weird.
Well, Judd, in fairness, the crowd noise made it tough to sort of get your bearings.
The fact that Flip got fired as OC that was 2018, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And Marwan Malouf is still employed. I just don't understand. Like, this special teams, to me, Vikings wise, I think is historically bad. Like, when's the last time that you guys recall special teams this consistently? And I mean, we're not talking about the kicker. We're talking about the fundamentals of special teams. I mean, Chris Boyd it's unbelievable, guys. He is a penalty machine on special teams. I don't get that. There are a lot of things here. So, you're right. Kirk deserves credit. It was a nice job. He didn't have timeouts to work with. That being said, the people who are commenting too, saying, hold on, Cowboys, slow down, they're right as well, because there were a lot of things today that I thought to myself, some of this is just coaching. Like, it's just being disciplined. It's just fundamentals.
And I'm not like call for coordinators heads guy very much, but if you're Marwan Malouf and all these things keep happening to you, now they blocked a kick today, which was good. But all these things keep happening, and some of them are detail oriented, some of them are penalties, some of them are just big things like, meltdowns that lead to 2 block punts in one game. I just don't know how you justify still having a job after the 2020 season. I don't know how do you explain away all the things coming into today? The Vikings had 13 punt return yards on the season. Like,
yeah, I know.
Are you serious? And I get that some of that's maybe it's personnel and they don't have the right guys back there and whatnot. But I mean, come on.
I saw tweets. Bring back Marcus Sherrills. I mean, Marcus Sherrills now looks like
a roster?
Pro Bowl. No, bring him back. I mean, he can return punts. Yeah, it is. But yes, Kirk. Back to Kirk. Kirk did a great job. That was a nice drive. Kirk had I also am impressed too, because Kirk had the flustered Kirk plays behind him, and ordinarily those seem to impact him going forward in a game, and he seemed to shake those off as well. So I mean, Kirk, the fumble by Kirk was bad, man. That's the old Kirk. I've told him before, stop, drop, and roll, baby. Stop, drop, and roll. Protect that ball. And he literally dropped that ball and was like, I guess I dropped it.
Yeah.
But so for him to rebound from a play like that and come back then and lead that drive, he does get credit for that.
And you just nailed the key, is that no one's asking for him to be perfect all the time. And I'm not even asking for the rest of the team to be. I feel like there's this divide where, it's sort of, is it Kirk's fault when things go wrong, or is it the offensive line's fault? And the reality is, in any football game or season, almost any game, but for sure over the course of a football season, even the Super Bowl champion teams are going to have flaws on their roster. They're going to have a leaky defense in certain areas, or they're going to have injuries, or an offensive line that's not great in certain areas. And the quarterback has to overcome a lot of those things, because the quarterback is the one that has the most influence on the game. And so, yeah, like, is it annoying when Kirk has that fumble that leads to a touchdown? And like, should you hold on to that ball? Okay, not every time, but what I ask is that it's okay for there to be things that are imperfect. It's okay for the offensive line to be leaky sometimes, and for the defense to not be perfect this season or be bottom 15. All those things are going to happen. Can your highly paid quarterback rise above some of those things and lead you down to a victory that maybe you weren't supposed to have? And this was like this today. The Vikings were not supposed to win that game. The Vikings, back-to-back defensive touchdowns. Chad Beebe muffs the punt. And Carolina also, like, they probably saved the Vikings 50 to 60 seconds with incomplete passes in their last two drives, which is weird.
Yeah, that was
bad.
Odd.
But Kirk, regardless of what happened in the first 2 hours and 50 minutes of real time, block it all out. You got a minute 50, go down the field, make something happen, and by golly, he did that today.
It's what we have been spending at least a year saying, do this, and he did it. I give him credit. I give the man credit.
Dex, let's get to our next guest here. Who else we got on Vikings Vent Line? Most interactive show in Minnesota sports.
Yeah, let's go to Anthony. Anthony, what's up, buddy? You're on Vikings Vent Line.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's up, Anthony?
Okay, so I spent most of the time for most of that game yelling at my TV, talking about how we had worthless wins against the Packers, the Bears, and them. So I was just like, after that, like the 1-5 start was how the team was. It wasn't a fluke or anything, because I was resigned to going 3-13 and just beating the Lions twice because they are just that bad. But I have no idea what to think. Like, Kirk did his job at the end. The defense was still really bad. Like, right after we scored that touchdown, my dad called me and he immediately brought up the game against the Lions like 3 years ago where we scored with like 15 seconds left, but then immediately Matt Stafford took him down. Prater hit a 56-yarder, and the Lions beat us in overtime. I was just thinking, it's like, yeah, that could happen too, because like, but like the defensive line is really bad. Like they can't. Like Carolina does not have that great of an O line, and they couldn't get near Teddy the whole game. So
yeah, Anthony, great stuff, dude. Great energy. Appreciate you coming on. And to that point, this is part of the reason why I haven't been as critical about the Vikings defense this year is because I look ahead at next year and see pieces coming back that are going to make this thing better. And so, like, if DJ Wanham has a bad game, it doesn't matter because he's not going to start next year. I mean, he might if they make trades.
The interior of the defensive line is not good, but Pierce should help that a lot. But I mean, you are not going to, you do not have tackles inside, Phil, who are going to consistently be able to or competent enough to stop the run game. You just don't. Like, they're not going to fail every single time, but they're going to get gashed. And yeah, I mean, it's not good, but I think if Pierce, and he should come back in 2021, that's going to be an upgrade there. But look, I think the most important thing defensively that we can talk about is, do your ends improve and do your corners, which is why there were series today that I was confused by. Why are Chris Boyd and Chris Jones playing and Dantzler's not playing? I want Dantzler play. I don't care if he screws up beyond belief. I want him playing all the time. Like, what's the matchup where, and I know Zim is a defensive guru, right? But like, explain to me, what's the matchup where you think, you know what it is, Phil Mackey? It's Chris Jones time. That's whose time.
Dude,
no, it's never Chris Jones time.
Here's what I love and appreciate now about I was out on Chris Jones after he decided not to step up and make a tackle on that Pollard run against Dallas.
Yeah, I'm
back in on Chris Jones for the unwarranted level of cockiness today. There's a couple plays. One was an incomplete pass in the end zone, and it's like, these are two sub 500 teams. Like, you just blew this 42-yard run last week. But nope, I'm going to trash talk every single chance I get because I am Chris M. Jones, baby. That's right. Who do we got next, Declan?
Let's go to Dylan. Dylan, you're on Vikings Vent Line.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up, Dylan?
All right?
We got you.
Sir.
We got you.
All right. I got a couple things to say real quick. First, the in-laws got me the Jefferson jersey here. So
there you go.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm happy about that.
Buy that stock.
All right, so there's two things I noticed here. First, I got to give props to Kirk Cousins because I came on the show last week and said it looked like, he took a dump in his shorts, but he ran pretty well today. Everything came together. I have to give him full props. Next, I have to say, I think Xavier Rhodes hit up Dalvin Cook on saying, like, hey, if you ain't feeling it, dude, just fake an injury real quick, and then you can come back into the game. You'll be fine. So he did that. And then next, oh, God, man. I mean, I don't know. It's just.
Actually, I want to go on your second point there. Is it possible Dalvin Cook spent too much time hanging out with Xavier Rhodes the last couple of years?
That's what he was saying.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
This is 3 consecutive games in which Cook has either flat out lost the ball or he has looked like it was a possible loss of the ball, and 3 consecutive games in which he stayed down. I mean,
there were people. Right. Well, you were there. They didn't really show like when Fox came back from commercial break. They didn't they just ignored the Dalvin Cook injury angle for like 3 minutes. But I saw people from the stadium tweeting things like he's not putting any pressure on his right leg, and then they showed him like 5 minutes later, like running up and down the sideline. Like what? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it, man. Hey, I'll take it. Just keep the motivation going. I'm happy. So let's roll.
Right on. All right, Dylan. Thanks for jumping on, man.
Thanks, Dylan.
Appreciate you watching.
He's right
Appreciate
about
you
that,
listening.
though. Come on, Cookie. I mean, come on. I mean, if you fumble, you fumble, but you're not hurt every single time that you fumble.
Yeah, you know, it's just like PJ Fleck told his team a couple weeks ago. Everybody poops. Everybody fumbles sometimes. It's okay. You're gonna fumble once in a while. You don't want to
stay down.
Don't fumble too often.
Kirk just stood there. Kirk dropped the ball,
was-
and he's like, "Hey, I dropped the football."
Kirk was magical, just like we all knew he's always been. Especially this next guy, Chancey, has been on the Kirk Cousins bandwagon longer than anyone on this show. And Chancey, this is your platform to publicly apologize to Kirk Cousins. So go ahead. Oh no, we can't hear you,
buddy.
You're on mute. Hold on,
there you
Chancey,
go.
There we go.
Oh, he had it and then it went away. You almost got it. This is great. There you go.
Nope, it's still muted. There we go. All right, there we go.
Chancey.
Well, it's hard to get reception and all the technical functions working up northern Minnesota up here for Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm up in the tractor on the Hulverson family farm here, sitting in the Case 1200, but did get a chance to watch the end of the game on the phone. Props to Kirk. Yeah, I'm still not sold that he's going to bring us to the promised land, but can we take this opportunity to bury or end an old Vikings kind of talking point story that's been going for years? And I'll say, you guys probably don't want to throw dirt on an old coworker, but if there was ever a time for Mr. Matthew Call or Mr. I send Teddy Bridgewater love notes on Valentine's Day, and he was the greatest guy, and if only Teddy wouldn't have got hurt. That guy we all complain about every week, Kirk Cousins, just beat that guy, Teddy Bridgewater. Let's not pretend anymore that he was ever the savior, that if it was only for not that ankle injury, this team would be different. That he's an average quarterback. I wouldn't even trade Kirk for him. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, he ain't taking anybody anywhere. And when we used to talk about that all the time, and you know, if only he wouldn't have got hurt, forget it. He was always overrated. Today proved it. You see that throw in the end zone he missed at the end of the game, wide open on the slant, nobody near the guy within 3-4 yards. Come on.
He actually,
he would get eviscerated.
It was bad. He missed 2 wide open touchdown passes because he missed another one to DJ Moore on a play action drag across from the right side. And on this show, Declan Goff has been Teddy Bridgewater supporter number 1, 2, and 3. And I got to agree with Chancey today. Anyways, Teddy Bridgewater was terrible.
I don't know if he was terrible. I wouldn't call him terrible. I mean, he found the guy. If he found the guy to set him up in field goal range, if he pulls that off, that doubles down on the Teddy ticks. That absolutely doubles down. Then Kirk wasn't able to make the comeback. Teddy was able to do it again, did the things he was supposed to do. I admit he didn't play a great game today, but he almost pulled it off, and it would have been delicious if it happened.
Hey, last thing, somebody needs to fire the janitor that peeled the Post-it note off Rick Spielman's desk with Marcus Sherrill's phone number on it and accidentally tossed it in the trash, and tell him to bring it back or enter the phone number back in. How can we not have a guy that can catch a punt on the team?
It's so
bad.
It's a
tough. That's a tough job, Chancey. That's a tough job. That's a tough job. Like Sherrill's made his team year. See you, Chancey.
Right, we're losing Chancey.
Hey, Sherrill's made this team year after year after year because he could do one thing: reliably catch punts and return them. Mm-hmm. That's why. So, I mean, I will say that I think that's one of the most underrated jobs because it's like, well, of course you can catch a punt. Who can't, right? It's actually fairly tough, number one. And number two, if you screw it up, you are in deep trouble. So, for all of those who spent year after year saying, Marcus Sherrill's on the 53 again, that's why.
Well,
I mean, Bobby Wade fair caught like 75,000 consecutive punts. Do you know why? Because he knew he couldn't return them because he'd probably fumble if he tried.
All right. I just want to verify this stat, this 13 yards. I'm so curious. All right. Because that was the number that they threw it on the broadcast.
I bet it's true.
All right. So special kicking and punting.
Yep.
Here we go. Kick and punt returns by team. Okay. Punt return yardage by team coming into this game. The Dolphins, 300 punt return yards. Oh my God, it's true.
13.
Oh,
The Vikings came into today with 13 punt return yards on the season.
Do you know why? Because you don't want the guy to try and return a punt and fumble it. You prefer this.
BB.
Hey, I got it. And then, of course, you catch the ball and don't muff it like BB did. So,
Or close your eyes.
hey, BB caught the winning touchdown pass. Declan, back off. And Bridgewater. Here's the thing that I will say about Teddy is this. The talk in this town is if he didn't get hurt. Because I'm sorry, but there is no way, guys, that your leg can blow up and you come back the same.
But doesn't he? But he's mobile. So I've always been a Teddy supporter, and I would say, we can have this discussion for another day. But like, if you're going to give me Teddy for half the price of Kirk, and I get to fill my roster out, like I'll have that debate. If it's just straight up, who's the better quarterback? I don't know that I would say Teddy Bridgewater right now is the better quarterback.
It's probably not.
I don't know that I would say that he's not. Like he's healthy, like he's mobile enough. He's running around for first downs. It doesn't look like he's hesitating on throws. It doesn't look like the knee injury is a thing in his mind anymore. So
I'm just saying I'd be curious if that hadn't happened because it was such a fluke and so bad. That's the guy that I'd be curious to see here. Not he's back. I do think this. I think the Vikings made the right call in moving on from him because their doctors being concerned, I think was exactly right. And he's fine. I mean, he's fine, but he is, but in my mind, he is not the guy that the Vikings drafted and thought that they were going to develop. I think that guy was an improvement on this guy who's done a great job in trying to come back, but I'm willing to bet that he won't be the same as far as what he brought to the team before he got hurt. Just my guess.
Dex, who else we got?
Let's go to Island Life. We'll go to Paul in Honolulu. Paul, what's up, buddy?
Nice.
Hey, aloha. Thanks for having me on.
What's up, Paul?
I guess the Vikings won, but I don't think many people like how it tasted.
That's good.
Well, see, actually, this would be a great week for Mike Zimmer to get the line right because I think you could deliver it if you gave the actual line you like that. I think you could get the locker room roar today. So we'll keep an eye on see if he delivered it right today.
Right. So I'm curious, how we would rate Zimmer's performance as head coach this year. It seems like he's supposed to be this defensive guru. The defense isn't very good. The special teams has been atrocious. He hasn't fixed that yet. We're more than halfway through the season. Kind of lay off the offense. I think the offense has been the bright spot of the team overall. But any thoughts? Over.
Dudley?
The defense is not good, but it's not surprising. I guess I would go back to the actual decisions made in the spring and summer about who not to bring in. Like I will always go back to I don't get why they didn't go sign a reasonably priced veteran cornerback. I just don't get that. Like you're dealing now with Chris Jones, Chris Boyd, Gladney, who I think is going to be good eventually, but he's not there yet. Dantzler, again, same thing. So I guess it's more from the administrative standpoint of what they didn't do because look, Pierce opted out. That's beyond your control. Hunter got hurt. That is also beyond your control. But in the secondary there, if Mike had brought in one guy who sort of knew what Mike wanted to stabilize things, I think it definitely helps out. So I'm as confused by what they didn't do personnel wise as what they're doing now, just as far as, because I would not expect a veteran corner to make them perfect, but I would expect that it would be an upgrade there and would stabilize things. And they don't have that. I mean, when things start to go wrong and it's Chris Boyd, Chris Jones, and Gladney, that's a problem because who's going to stop that bleeding? Nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Paul, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate your question and your takes.
Enjoy Hawaii.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm sure it's real nice there.
It's been very nice here the last couple of days.
Yeah, yesterday was gorgeous.
Yesterday.
Like 50 degrees yesterday.
Today, very windy. Very windy.
Yesterday would have been patio weather yesterday, but
I would have. Here we are.
All right, who else we got here? Vikings Vent Line on the Purple Daily YouTube channel, youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast.
Let's go to Zach. Zach, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Zach.
Guys, what's up? Hey, we're almost 500.
Again,
and the Jaguars coming up next week with Is it Mike Glennon? Is he their starting quarterback right now?
Started today. He was scheduled to start today.
I actually am not as like upset with the defense as everyone's like, oh, our defense. 14 points today was on the offense. The offense gave up more points than our defense did, with the fumbles and the miscues. For some reason, it seems like the offense comes out to start the game with tempo and they kind of have the scripted plays and they look good. And then there's this whole middle part of the game where they just look discombobulated. They can't line up. They're jumping on their false starts. And then, like, when you have to go tempo again at the end of the game, it's like then Kirk can kind of work his magic a little bit.
Listen to that. Isn't that music to everyone's ears? Kirk working his magic.
He's right,
gentlemen. Spinning the football, just laser beams over the middle to Kyle Rudolph, chunking yards at the end of that game today. I mean, all you people that doubted him, I'm telling you, you guys need to check your football IQ.
I'm still a huge Kirk doubter. I want us to draft a quarterback here in the draft. So anybody who eats this up is like, oh, Kirk Cousins second, fourth quarter comeback. Like that's fool's gold, guys.
Zach, what you're doing is you're picking up the phone right now to Kyle Shanahan and saying, hey, let's just. I know the trade deadline passed, but in about a month from right now, why don't you take a look at some of this film here the last couple of weeks? Go look at the fourth quarter, early fourth quarter Dallas.
Yeah. He's crying.
I would
absolutely
be on the phone with him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, if we had re-signed Bridgewater or Keenum, and here we are into the third year, and it was like an 8-8 season, one playoff, and now we're halfway through a losing season, we'd be eating them up. Like, why did you re-sign Keenum and Bridgewater? But for Kirk Cousins, we're like, oh, he gets a pass. No, we were in our Super Bowl window. Kirk was signed to win us a Super Bowl. If it doesn't happen in these 3 years, it's a failure. It is what it is.
You're right.
Yeah, Zach, thanks for your takes, man. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week after the Vikings pull to 500.
And don't forget, too, it was supposed to happen in 18. He didn't – there was no long-term plan here. It went from Case to Kirk, and Kirk was going to be the final piece of a Super Bowl puzzle. So, this was not a – man, they're going to sign Kirk in 18, and then can you imagine 2020? This was an immediate bang for your buck improvement that was supposed to work, and it didn't. But again, I don't blame them because they took a swing, and if teams in this town don't take swings, we turn on them too. The problem is you took the swing, and it's not going to work with where it was supposed to work.
Yeah, I will say, all right, I'm just going to throw this out there. So the Vikings are probably going to beat the Jaguars. They're going to be 6-6. The Cardinals right now are 6-5. I don't know who they play next week, but I know that they play the Rams twice. I think they might play the Rams. So they play the Rams twice the rest of the season, and the Rams are really, really good.
Okay.
So the Vikings can get to the playoffs still, even though they lost to Dallas. It makes it you probably have to beat either the Saints or Tampa and both Chicago and Detroit to get there. Kirk Cousins coming into the playoffs last year had all these things lingering over him that he wasn't able to do, right? Win a playoff game, lead the Vikings back from late in the game, down late in the game, win in prime time, win at Chicago. And he's been checking more of these boxes as the weeks go by. He's certainly not Pat Mahomes, but he's been checking more of these boxes, okay?
Uh-huh.
If he's all of a sudden figuring out how to be more competent late in these games, fourth quarter, to go along with how great the Vikings offense has been when it's scripted and playing off Dalvin and play action, earlier in the games. If he's going to add even, I'm not saying he's going to add a Pat Mahomes late game element, but if he's going to add even a fraction of a late game element to his game, this team becomes more interesting. My entire hypothesis about Kirk Cousins is if he's going to make that much of the salary cap, and he can't carry you in some of these situations, you're screwed. But if he can carry you in some of these situations, it becomes a more interesting conversation. I'll just throw that out there. I'll just throw it out.
The problem is this. The problem is, and it does not all lie on Kirk's shoulders. The problem is to go back to last week. You never know when this team, and this is true across this entire league, so it's not just a Vikings thing, Phil. You never know when this team is going to have a Cowboys game again, which it could against the Jags. That's the weird thing here. I mean, you gave up offensively 14 points today, and you won. You have no business, right? So the problem that I see from the entire squad, not just Kirk Cousins, is it becomes, after a game like this, very simple to talk about, okay, if they do this and now they do that and then they do this and that can be a play, and then they'll have a complete stinker. Here's another thing to think about too. I'm just going to throw this out there for that last drive, and I'd like you to think, I think the reaction to what I'm about to say is going to be, what are you talking about, Judd? You've gone crazy. Were you smoking weed during today's game? And the answer is no. I'm at the stadium. But I'm going to throw this out there. Who did Kirk Cousins not have in operating in that last drive today?
Adam Thielen.
Yes.
Thielen.
I think it's important that he didn't. You know why? Because he has to think for himself and not look for, I'm telling you, Adam and Kirk are the Edina High School tandem, baby. And they go to prom together with their dates, of course. Homecoming, they are, and Kirk always looks for 19. And everybody, for the most part, knows, because Cook is gone. Cook was gone again today, right? Dalvin Cook is out. So the question is, who's Kirk going to throw to? And everybody and their mom knows 19. But he wasn't there. And what happens? Distribution becomes a little bit more of a threat. And now you're not as sure. And I will go back to what we've talked about 1,000 times. When it comes to talent, Kirk has talent. It's more of his mind. So if Kirk has to distribute the ball to different players, he is capable, but it's in Kirk's mind. If Thielen's out there, I got to throw to Thielen. But when everybody knows that, it's a problem.
Yeah, and that's we've seen that before, like when Megatron retired and Matt Stafford had to spread the ball around. There was a noticeable jump in Matt Stafford's statistics, I think, for a year or two. In fact, I think he threw for like 5,000 yards without Megatron, if I'm remembering right. And this happens in other cases too, in other sports. But when it comes to the Vikings, I don't think we should say that Kirk Cousins is better in those situations without Thielen. I think we should say what you're saying is that Kirk Cousins is not able to lock into a safety blanket. Absolutely. When he's covered in those situations. And today, I don't have the drive chart in front of me, but I know that Kyle Rudolph caught a couple passes. Chad Beebe caught the game-winning pass. It was spread all over. BC Johnson, Justin Jefferson, Kyle Rudolph, and Chad Beebe all had 7 catches for between 63 and 74 yards today. Yeah. Now, Justin Jefferson was targeted twice as often as other receivers, which I like to see. And he didn't come down with a couple of those, but it is an interesting dynamic, and Kirk, it's going to be on him when Thielen's back to make sure in those situations that you're still looking around at all your options and not locking into one guy if he's covered. So, Deck, let's go to our next guest here on Vikings Vent Line, powered by Corona Hard Seltzer.
Yeah, let's go to Pedro and his guitar. Pedro, what's going on, dude?
Hey guys, a couple of weeks ago, Judd asked someone to write a cover called "Pretty Cousins," so here's the try.
Oh man,
Love it.
Pretty cousins marching down the field, pretty cousins, human highlight reel, pretty cousins. Don't believe you, but it's true. No one has touched a dolphin as good as you. Pretty cousins marching down the field, pretty cousins, throw a finger a field, pretty cousins. They don't believe you, but it's true. No one has touched a dolphin as good as you. Because you like how this feels. Mike Zimmer may be mentally ill. Pretty cousins, do you like that? Pretty cousins, fed me life. That's against the Jets in MetLife. Pretty cousins, the greatest you ever played. Pretty cousins.
Awesome, Pedro.
Attaboy, Pedro.
Dude,
there
so
it is,
good.
right there.
So thank you so much,
Pedro. We appreciate it. We're going to be bringing Pedro in to help sing backup on Songs by the U-Log in 2021.
Take my point.
We're going to bust that back out.
Appreciate it, Pedro.
Thanks, Pedro.
Awesome. Thank you. That was really good.
The reaction is very split in the comments section. Some people just don't appreciate great musical artistry like Pedro brought to the table there. So
the lyrics are undeniably fantastic,
impeccable. And I don't think Pedro was reading off a lyric sheet there too. I think he had that all internalized like the real professional musicians do. Yeah. All right. Who else we got here on Vent Line, Dex?
Yeah, we'll bring in regular Coach Ben. Ben, what's going on, dude?
Oh wow, guys! I didn't know you guys were auditioning for American Idol here on Vet. So awesome job there. I will say this: this is the first game in Cousins' 3 years here that I looked at and say, you know what? He lifted the team up today. He gave them at the end of the game a chance to win when special teams was a nightmare. Even though the defense didn't give up points, they still got gashed from time to time. And the head coach with another pathetic game for Mike Zimmer in terms of managing the game throughout. At the end of the game, he basically raised the team up, throwing the ball to Chad Bibby. I think that's Cousins saying, you know what, just throw it to him. Let's give him a chance. So first game where I look at and say the quarterback raised the play of everybody else around him. And going forward at 5-6, Zimmer's not going to like this, but this is really not a time to play run first, play good defense. Your defense is not good. Your defense isn't stopping anybody. Had it not been for several drops from Carolina, I don't even think this game probably wouldn't even be that close. So this is the first game where I look at, and I just want to ask you guys, do you really think Zimmer will change his tune about Cousins after watching him basically help the Vikings basically overcome mistakes from coaching and other aspects of the game?
Let me take a stab at this. Here's where I will put, and we don't know all the inner workings of what they work on in practice and what the communication is about some of these later game situations. What we know is that the Vikings the last 3 years, offensively and defensively this year, but offensively for 3 years, have been putrid inside 4 minutes, fourth quarter overtime, game on the line. The stats bear it out. The quarterback ratings bear it out. And it's a fact. And I think, and I'm guilty of this, it's really easy to say, well, that's because of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins' heart rate jumps. He's not mobile enough. There are things that Kirk Cousins doesn't do well in those situations that Russell Wilson does well, that Pat Mahomes does well, etc. But when I watch the Vikings in these situations and some of the penalties they take and just some of the cookie cutter stuff that they try to do offensively, it looks like they don't emphasize those situations enough behind the scenes. And, whenever you hear about, New England Patriots and preparation leading into games and training camp, the Patriots are obsessed with situational things, third down, red zone, 2 minutes to go, no timeouts, clock management, even down to like when the Vikings, when Mike Zimmer challenges a play in the second half that has no chance of winning, right? Like burning a timeout that you shouldn't burn. Those types of things, the Vikings need to be more obsessed with being great inside 2 minutes, inside 4 minutes. A lot of it's on Kirk, but not all of it's on Kirk.
I don't think that I don't think that Mike is going to philosophically change how Mike is, because I think above and beyond, depending or not depending on individuals, he loves to run the ball, and he does see. I mean, keep in mind too, Mike's life is spent either thriving or covering up for defensive deficiencies, right? And because of that, in Mike's mind, right or wrong, he thinks that if you run the football, you are going to keep your defense off the field, and his defense is not good. So I don't think he's going to change his philosophy on football, not solely because Kirk is Kirk, but I think it's going to be because he sees that he definitely is at a stage in his life where he thinks the formula works. And so, I mean, Dalvin Cook came back in today. And I guess my question is this: why? Like, what was the point? But in Mike's mind, it's like if he can play, he's playing. So I get your question. Unfortunately, I don't think the coach is going to change his stripes now.
Yeah, and they have a great opportunity coming up because they beat Jacksonville to get to 500, and the Bucs are getting waxed right now by Kansas City, and they've been very wobbly.
Have you guys looked at? I haven't seen anything. I was looking at the box score. So yeah, 17-0 over the Bucs right now. Chiefs are the Bucs. 132 left in the first quarter. Tyreek Hill has over 200 yards receiving in the first quarter.
Good Lord.
Whoa.
Yeah. If I'm the Vikings, all right, Jefferson, it's your turn now. Like, dude. Oh man, that's ugly. Really ugly.
What's the record? It's I want to say 300 some. I think we have a 300 yard. Yeah. Yeah,
Have to look it up.
someone can check that. Ben, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on Vikings Vent
See ya.
Line. As always, we'll
Hey.
talk again soon.
Good stuff.
Let's keep rolling them in here, Declan
For
Goff.
sure.
We're 45 minutes into Vikings Vent Line. Vikings are going to play the Jaguars next week and probably pull to 500 after Kirk Cousins' second fourth quarter comeback victory as a Minnesota Viking. Media having us eating crow here and washing it down with Corona Hard Seltzer. Who's next?
Let's go to Trevor. Trevor, you're on Vikings Vent Line. What's up, buddy?
Fellas, how's it going?
What's up, Trevor?
Big fan of your show. Listen to it when the podcasts come out, so I look forward to that every day.
Thanks, dude.
A couple of comments I thought was BC Johnson stepped up today along with Chad Beebe. That's awesome to see with Thielen out. The special teams, though, it's hard to watch now with special teams. It used to be when we'd kick field goals all the time, we were cringing. That seems to be on a better trajectory, knock on wood. But now it's punts and other things that are scary, like the Chad Beebe thing. I thought I pretty much thought we were screwed at that point. But luckily, we can thank Carolina for some of their clock management miscues that hopefully that did lead us to kind of going down the field there and getting the W. When I was looking at the box score afterwards, Kirk Cousins threw 45 times. Is that his season high this year?
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Yeah.
The Vikings came in with, I think they were bottom 5 in pass attempts, period, this season coming into the game. So, yeah, it's got to be pretty close.
Yeah, and if I wasn't watching the game and I saw that, I don't know if I'd feel good about it. But then I look at the other point of it. It's 3 touchdowns over 300 yards. Man stepped up today, so kudos to that. It's just frustrating. If that could be consistent, boy, that'd be amazing. But that's our dream, right?
Yes. Yeah, and that's been the knock on Cousins. I mean, Cousins puts together stretches like this in almost every season, if not every season he plays. And then he'll put together a month stretch like September 2019 where Stephon Diggs is so apoplectic he quits the team for 2 days. So can he keep doing it is the question.
Right. One thing I was wondering when I was watching the game, the chin player for Carolina is obviously dynamite. But when he got that first touchdown and he dunked the ball over the field goal post, shouldn't that have been a flag? Shouldn't we have had some sort of advantage there? Is not a flag if you dunk it over the field goal post? I thought that was.
I thought they waived those a couple of years ago.
I think you're good on. You can dunk it through the goalpost. I don't think you can use it as a prop though. I think if you were to use it if you were to use the ball as a prop in a touchdown celebration, I think that's a flag. You can do group celebrations and you can dunk through the goalpost and you can dive into an empty crowd now. But that's pretty much it.
Have fun with that. Hitting a seat.
Yep.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to say though was I mentioned the time management for Carolina, but even the Vikings time management, I feel like that's been a thing a couple of times in more of a means of Mike Zimmer did a good job challenging those first 2, but the third one I felt was obvious. And Phil, you mentioned that once already on the call here, and getting to 1 timeout left with down 8, I believe it was. You can't have that in your pocket too. You need 3 timeout. Now, granted, we were able to pull it off, but I would say more often than not with this team and most teams, you'd want to have that clock management to have those 3 timeouts when you got that 2 minute drive.
Or at least 2, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like that challenge to me made no sense.
Yep.
That was so close. I would have said, I've won 2, good enough.
Yeah, I think one of my big challenge pet peeves is we thought we stopped them a half yard short of the first down challenge. It's like, great. And then they get it on the next play anyway.
And they should go for it too.
And you lost, and now you're down a challenge or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. So, all right, Trevor, thanks for coming on,
Hey,
dude.
Trevor.
Appreciate you.
Kirk's high in passes before today's game, a gentleman, was against Seattle. He threw 39 passes. So this was a single game high, at least for 2020 for Kirk Cousins.
And ordinarily, just with the formula that the Vikings operate with, which is a run-first formula, and Kirk traditionally has not been great when he has to throw late in games and the defense can pin its ears back. If he has to throw 45 times, that's usually a really bad sign. Yes. And today, I don't know if it was a great sign today either, because it meant that they were down by 2 scores and they had to throw, but he did great in those situations. All right, Dex, who's next? Vikings Vent Line.
Yeah, let's go to Chanix. Chanix is back on Vikings Vent Line. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Chanix.
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good, man.
So I would say I'm very happy that Justin Jefferson can finally get a touchdown and also win a game. That never happens. So each time he gets a touchdown, we end up losing a game. So I'm happy for that. I'm happy for a second home win. So that's great. I'm also very happy that Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins doing great. He plays baseball. He's hitting those singers, and any other teams who wants him, please, by all means. This is a great guy to have, man. He's the greatest, man. We even have a song about him now. Come on. Come on. Do you guys have any song for Patrick Mahomes? I don't think so. Come on, Kirk Cousins.
We actually do have a song for Teddy Bridgewater that we'll maybe play this week on Mackey and Judd from about 5 years ago, songs by the U-Log, but we do not have one for Kirk yet.
Right. So
Keep going, Chanix. I love it, Chanix. Keep going.
Yeah. So come on, you guys. He is like the best quarterback we have. He sings, and he also can run. He also knows how to dive head first instead of sliding. So come on. He's like the best we have. Go Kirk, man.
Amen. Chanix, thanks for coming on, dude.
San Francisco. Go for it, man.
Kyle wants him. Hey, Shanny, what's up?
Can't believe you guys just using this huge comeback victory to mock and ridicule.
No mocking here. This is dead serious. This is the time to say, did you see what Kirk Cousins did? Can you imagine a season full of that in San Francisco? I mean, we'd hate to give it up, but
let me ask this. All right, so I just want to make a comparison here. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. So when the Kansas City Chiefs decided during the offseason 3 years ago, you know what, guys, this is going to be, or 4 years ago, I guess it was, whatever. This is going to be a tough decision. Alex Smith has been really good for us, but our goal is to win a Super Bowl. And so we don't think Alex Smith is the guy to lead us to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
So Alex Smith was a Pro Bowler in 2017, coming off 11 wins, and then either 9 or 10 wins in 2017. He threw for 4,000 yards, 68% completions, 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, led the league in average yards per attempt and passer rating.
Mm-hmm.
And they cut bait.
Mm-hmm.
Because they thought, man, like he's good and he's putting up some great statistical numbers here.
Yep.
But if our goal as a franchise is to win a Super Bowl, we need something more dynamic at that position and something that can like be the reason why we win games and not be just a cog in the machine, right? And a game like today is tantalizing because Alex Smith is not as dynamic as what Kirk did at times in the second half today. And so I think the best version of Kirk is better than the best version of Alex Smith before the leg injury, but it's still a similar discussion. If you feel like, man, the defense is going to take a step forward next year and you're going to have young cornerbacks emerging into potentially mature, experienced cornerbacks, and Danielle Hunter might come back, and if all these things happen, Michael Pierce, and you've got weapons on offense, you're going to have to make a decision. Is Kirk the guy that you think can replicate this more often going forward?
Yep.
Or do you make the decision that the Chiefs made, which is let's get the young guy in here right now and hope that we hit a home run with him?
And what's the fundamental difference between these two teams? It's this. Andy Reid's an offensive guy who knew, and he's incredibly smart, and the most important thing, adaptable. Andy Reid knew exactly what he wanted, and he knew in Alex Smith exactly to a T what he was looking at, which was a reliable, solid QB who could get you to the playoffs and maybe win a playoff game, but never win a Super Bowl, right? So the difference here, it's really not Kirk. It's Spielman and Zimmer and the coaching staff. Do they have the ability? Because it takes big cojones to be like, let's cut bait here. Because you better be right. Well, like if you're wrong, people get fired. And I realize that Kirk can get you fired too. But I really believe that's the key thing is when these people sit down now in January, do they have the ability to say, we can do better? And in the Chiefs case, they said that, and they said, and we know how. Like, do you have the people with the Vikings that can say, here's the plan?
Yeah. And a lot of people watching and listening to this, and certainly a lot of people that I've been interacting with on Twitter the last 3 days would say, you guys, open your eyes. Kirk is the guy if you give him protection up front and the defense is back to its form from 18-19. And it's a conversation that kind of goes in circles because listen, if Kirk had perfect protection on every play and he could just sit back there and take his time and survey, yes, I absolutely believe that the Vikings could win a Super Bowl. But the question is, can they build a great offensive line?
No.
Can they fix holes on defense?
No.
And keep some of their players who roll in from rookie contract to actual big boy contract under the cap, right? Like at some point, all of this pushing money back to 2020, 21, 22,
Yep.
even as great of a capologist as Rob Brzezinski has been, at some point you have to pay the piper on some of these contracts.
Of course.
So, I mean, the quickest solution here would be the defense takes a step forward just because guys come back, and Kirk is on a new level because he's figured out how to unlock something late in games. Like, that's the quickest path to a Super Bowl if you think Kirk has gotten to that next level.
The Kirk defenders, the one thing that they can't justify and can't defend, and where their argument falls apart, is very, very simple. His salary. It's not his play. I mean, his play, if he made 12 mil, 13 mil, again, I'd say I'm all in. This is fantastic. Because guess what? I'd have 2 good guards, 2 good tackles. I'd be damn good. I could build that team. If you just look at how he performs on the field, that is losing sight of the most important part of this discussion, which is salaries. You're paying Dalvin, you're paying Kirk, you're paying guys on defense. That's the problem. You have to become much more specific about who gets paid, which goes back to, Phil, why we both said, do you really want to pay Dalvin that much? It wasn't because we didn't think he's a magnificent player. He's a great player, but he plays a position at which guys get hurt and the shelf life is short. And so the question wasn't, can Dalvin Cook justify himself? No, he does every week, basically. The question was, can he justify that payday coupled with Cousins' payday, coupled with Barr's? That's where the puzzle falls apart.
Mm-hmm. And as Jason chimes in here on the Score North Facebook page up on the screen, it's easier to find a good quarterback than it is to find 5 good offensive linemen. And I'll amend that to say, because we're not just talking about, because Kirk is a good quarterback. We're not just talking about a good quarterback. We're talking about a franchise-changing guy who elevates above, things that aren't perfect. A Deshaun Watson type, although there are so many imperfections, including coaching and roster in Houston, that even he's having a hard time elevating above and putting Houston in a playoff position. But like, he's one of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league. That guy is hard to find, but I think you have to take shots at it, even when Kirk is your starter. And this pipe dream of having a perfect offensive line, I mean, every team in the NFL has a leaky component or 2 or 4 of an offensive line. And it's the teams that can make up for that with improvisational play at quarterback that tend to rise above as you get further along in the playoffs. Or if it's not someone who's mobile, it's a guy like a Drew Brees or a Tom Brady, who's a pocket passer that knows how to move the one step or knows how to adjust the protection or call the right hot route at the line of scrimmage, et cetera. So it's an interesting discussion the rest of the season for sure. Dex, who do we got next on Vikings Vent Line, powered by Corona Hard Seltzer?
Yeah, let's go to Mark in Louisville. Mark, what's up, buddy?
What's going on? How y'all doing today?
Good.
How are you? Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I ain't gonna lie. I fell asleep on the game after, Jeremy Chin scored twice. I was like, yeah, and there goes the game. So I woke up at the right time. Carolina had the ball on the goal line, but I'm gonna say finally we get to see a good 2-minute drive from the offense. Like, no screw ups, no nothing. And Chad BB actually redeemed himself. He can still get chewed out about the punt, but you actually, balance that out with that touchdown at the end. I'm gonna just say good win. I thought Teddy, I was watching the game with my dad, and I thought Teddy was about to do it to us until dude missed the kick. I was like, there it goes. But it was a good win, so I ain't mad about it.
It was a great throw by Teddy. I know Declan was ready to sit on here and say, I told you so for an hour and a half.
I really was.
I was saying the same thing.
My man.
Actually, I got a question for all you guys. Okay. And actually, Mark might have been sleeping during this, but when on the Panthers field goal that put them up 24-13, it looked like it sailed wide right.
Yeah, it was really confusing.
And the referees looked at each other and just like nodded their heads and went like this. And then they showed the replay, and it was at best it sailed over the right upright. But the replay even showed like, I don't know, and the commentators never came back to it. I'm pretty sure they missed that field goal.
Yeah, I don't think that was good. I think it was a missed kick.
I didn't see the Vikings dispute it though.
It's hard to. I don't think you can challenge it, and it's hard to dispute it because it's like you're on
From
the
press box,
sideline. So
it looked good, but I'm at the same end that the Vikings are as far as my vantage point. So it looked good from there. But yeah, no, I didn't see it disputed by the team. So I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I was definitely asleep.
Good for you for getting some rest. That game could have put you to sleep for a while.
I love how the analysis comes back around to Mark, and all right, Mark's like, guys, I was snoozing.
You know what?
I got nothing
like
here.
a couch nap, man. There's nothing as good. There's nothing as good as a little nap on a Sunday.
That's right.
All right, see you,
Way to
Mark.
go, Mark.
Appreciate it, man.
In fairness, it happened to Jonathan Vilma a couple times too. All right, Jonathan, what are your thoughts
How
on that
bad
last
is
drive?
he?
I don't know, man. I was sleeping.
How bad is he?
He brings
people on
good
Twitter were
energy.
killing him.
He brings
like
good
him.
energy.
Okay.
I like him.
People on Twitter were absolutely
they hate him. They hate him because of Bountygate. If he was not a part of Bountygate, the hatred would not be as hard as it is. And Bountygate with Vikings fans is the most sensitive topic in the world among them.
That's
Gary
part of it.
Gary Anderson miss is pretty sensitive. Blair Walsh miss.
In terms of hated figures, though, Joe Buck for the Moss mooning comment.
Yeah.
Jonathan Vilma for being part of the Bountygate team.
Because he's new too. I mean,
he did go a little over the top. Now, Kirk was great in the fourth quarter today, and Kirk has great fourth quarter numbers up until the 4-minute mark.
Sure.
But he went all in a couple times talking about Vikings fans, keep your head up here when they were still trailing. You got the best fourth quarter quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
It's like, all right, dude, just pump it a little. Just like Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes was warming up for his game. Just pump the brakes a little bit.
You should have been like Jonathan. Actually, here are Kirk's stats. Late in games, they're not really as good as you think they are.
Yeah,
at least not till today.
All right, who's next, Dex?
Yeah, let's go to. Actually, I think Kip's on the. We're gonna go to Darian. Darian, what's going on, dude? We're gonna go to you quick. You're on mute though, my man.
Hey
there
guys,
you
what's going on?
What's up, Darren?
Oh, nothing much. As you can see, everything's going according to plan, as I did from a while back. I think this week has been the greatest because the Cowboys have been proved to be a fluke, as we thought they were. And then today, the whole problem with Teddy Bridgewater is he can't find a kicker to ever get him to over the. That's his whole problem. I was saying he puts you in position, but if the kicker can't kick the field goal, then I mean that is what it is. But
so true.
I'm happy about a couple of things as far as where we are going offensively. Remember that thing I talked about confidence, and I was talking about with Kirk Cousins. I said if you give him a little bit of confidence, you let him build on it, you may have something. Starting to see a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing, like I said, I didn't like today. I didn't like how, as far as defensively, I think Anthony Harris was out of position with that deep pass.
He was.
And that's not like him at all. So I want to figure out like how we, get into these positions where we get these big plays on us, and it's like, okay, we can't keep letting this happen like late in the games where we have these blunders, and it's been happening a little bit too much. I do have a question though. How different do you think this defense would be if we had Michael Pierce?
I think it would be significantly better against the run, and I don't think gashing it up the middle would be nearly as easy. So I do think that that's a huge loss.
Yeah,
and if they had Hunter and Pierce, it's a different ballgame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think the fact that Pierce was supposed to be their marquee guy that they signed and was supposed to come in, and keep in mind too, in Zim's world, that nose tackle is an imperative piece. Like that's a huge piece. It's that, and basically I think the corners. So when Pierce opted out, and now like Shamar Stephen has to play a lot, that's a huge step down. So I do think that if you're trying to look for potential excuses that are legitimate, I think the loss of Pierce was really big. It's pretty important.
I mean, being the Vikings fans for as long as I've been, I mean, we generally, our defensive line is like that's like always been for us. We're the pro people leaders, that's always been us,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's been, especially this year, has been a big thing that we've been missing. Now, here's the other question. Who's the slot guy from now on? Is it BB or is it BC?
Well, yeah,
my answer.
Both were good today, and if BB wants to give up his punt return duties to focus more on that slot receiver position, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think for all that BB has gone through, I think he deserves a shot. I'm tired of hearing about him, like especially during preseasons where he's like, "Oh my God, BB's having this great camp." Then we don't see him for the rest of the year.
He's running great routes.
You're singing you're preaching the choir here today, Darren. You bring up the Teddy kicker talk,
the winning touchdown,
the Chad Beebe experiment, and trying to make fetch happen. You're singing my praises here. I love it.
At least I say at least for one game, I think we should at least give him a shot. Especially, I feel like BC's had his chance, and where he just disappeared all year. You know, he's in the Irv Smith. He's in the Irv Smith loop right about now.
Witness protection program.
Yeah,
Irv Smith witness protection.
I want to say that I want to see a little bit more of BB and see what he can do, especially with Adam Thielen being there, and see how much of a difference that makes for us. But Skol from here on out. That's all I have to say.
There he is, Darian, bringing the good takes. See you, buddy. Let's keep rolling in here. Let's get Kip on. I think Kip will probably be our last guest here on Vikings Vent Line. What's up, Kip?
Hey guys, sorry, I'm at work right now, and everyone's wanting stuff. I work at a hospital, so I was trying to hang on and ignore the phone call. And I just want to say I'm depressed because Matt Patricia is no longer the coach of the Detroit Lions, and somehow the Lions are going to upset the Vikings, and the Vikings are going to get bounced thanks to Matt Patricia. And the other thing too is, if we're going to stop calling fetch, as we call Chad Beebe, can we stop calling fetch with AP trying to run? He looked like Judd trying to reclaim his glory days in his drinking days. It wasn't pretty. And also, Phil, I'll come to your defense. You guys are what we call brutally honest with Kirk Cousins. I jumped in on Twitter to try to defend you because I got tired of everyone heckling you. He made a good play today, but it's the first time in 3 years. We got to see more. So I'm waiting for the, they were going to break our heart again. And then like everyone said, Teddy got his heart broken by a kicker times 2. So, it's just, we're going to somehow screw this up and then we're going to run it back again. And I think Zimmer's seat's going to get hot next year. So that's just,
I can see it.
Kip, good stuff, man.
Thanks
for all your work. Anyone working at a hospital,
we appreciate it. I don't care what you do. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Right.
And you know what? And thanks for jumping to my defense on Twitter, Kip. I mean, it is just it's really unfortunate that people take poor old innocent me behind the woodshed on these Kirk Cousins takes. Okay, I have a family. Okay?
The media in this market are not supposed to be tough on players. Okay, Mackey, you don't understand that. Be more like me. Be more understanding and when things go wrong, apologize. Okay, just apologize. Kirk isn't so bad because he's a great guy.
Here's the thing:
Thanksgiving gives away turkeys.
I feel like, and again, I should just get in the habit off the top of Vent Line every single week and every episode of Purple Daily, and we do have a couple more. We're going to bring in a couple more guests here too. I jumped the gun. We have 2 more for sure. So, I think we should start every single show, and it's my mistake for not starting this show with the hypothesis of the show. The main statement of this show on Purple Daily is win a damn Super Bowl. That's what we are pushing to happen. Everything we talk about, like people think, why are you being so negative? Like, get rid of the word negative. Everything we say and do is meant to align with, we would like to see the Vikings before we die win a Super Bowl. Okay. And so when it's us criticizing Kirk or talking about Zimmer or Spielman, we didn't just wake up and decide, you know what, I think we're going to troll Vikings fans today. And we're going to put on some Packer jerseys and just be asses. And we're just going to troll because it's fun. No, we would like to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl. And a big part of that equation is the quarterback. And what the quarterback did today is what you need your quarterback to do against the best teams in the NFL in the biggest spots in December, January, and early February. And so if we're getting to the point where we think Kirk can do that exact thing in a playoff game against, I don't know, Pat Mahomes at some point in the Super Bowl, like that's the measurement. The Kansas City Chiefs are the measurement, okay? Not the Carolina Panthers, not the Denver Broncos last year. Those are great wins that needed to happen for the Vikings to keep going forward. But I think we get so stuck in mediocreville here sometimes We don't know what it looks like. What does a Super Bowl blueprint and DNA look like? We know what 9-7 and 10-6 in division looks like here. What does a Super Bowl look like? And that's where a lot of this comes from. And listen, like, I'm happy to get punked today by Cousins. And if you want to jump on at Phil Mackey and you want to slap me upside the head on Twitter, then I'll take that today. But ultimately, we're gunning for a Super Bowl here. And if I don't think the quarterback who gets paid next year 15% of the salary cap checks enough boxes, I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it. Judd's going to call it. Declan's going to drink Corona hard seltzers and crush him against his head like Stone Cold.
The problem though is the fundamental issue with this team actually offensively starts with the coach, because he's trying to be a run first coach in a pass first league. So you've got to actually get him to change his philosophy and then put Cousins in the pressure cooker consistently to get what you're talking about, which is why there's like a whole layer of things here. But I want to be very clear today. Nobody on this show has called this a bad win, because we're past the point of, oh, bad win. You're not tanking.
You might as well go.
That's gone. Just go. So when they beat the Packers initially, I believe, for their second win, I think we all said, really, is this a good win? To be clear, up until now, and I'm not calling it a bad win, but I'm saying the subject has not even been broached. You might as well just win games. So beat Jacksonville. My concern, though, is I can't really tell what the Vikings team is going to show up a week from today. Is it going to be the Cowboys team that lost to Dallas, or is it going to be the team that came back late today? And that's where I don't know what type of stock to put in this win, because I thought a corner was turned post Chicago. Guess who was wrong about that? Yeah, me, Judd Zolgad. So, and the question now becomes, okay, in 1 week, and I get it, Jacksonville stinks, but does this team show up that can come back late and rally and win, or does that Cowboys debacle team show up? And I honestly now have given up trying to guess, because I don't know. I can't tell.
No Regrets 5 says neither of these guys care what the truth is. They only care what will make a better talking subject for them. I think we love talking. We love subjects, but
yes,
I think this comment is the exact opposite of what this show represents. You can find a lot of shows in this town, a lot of TV stations. There's a radio station that bleeds purple, and they're going to feed you what the positive, essentially PR friendly line is going to be about the Vikings. They're going to pump you full of positive BS when the Vikings are 1-5. That's not us. And so, like, if you want to misconstrue our negativity for just like we're just a bunch of sour negative guys, I mean, I guess we can't stop you. But if you want truth and you want if you want to be told what's actually happening with this team according to how we see it, okay, like we're not always right, this is the show for you. This is the show. It's not always going to be rosy on this show.
Stop with the fake news, okay? Just stop with the fake. I'm so tired of all the fake news.
But if you do want positivity, every Thursday on Purple Daily, we do Purple Positivity Thursday. But we will pump you up with positivity.
Pump you up while Declan's drinking Corona hard seltzer.
Yes, exactly.
All right, who else we got here, Dex?
Well, we got a couple more. Let's go to Jabril. Jabril is, I believe, a first-time listener for us in Bentland. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
What's up?
I called. I think it was after the Packers W that we got. And I had a couple opinions about that game on how it was a waste or whatnot. Now, for anybody, because I definitely didn't tune into the show right away, but for any Kirk fans or anything like that, I want to say I don't care if we win the Super Bowl, we still must move on and get a new quarterback. Even though that's not possible to happen, if we win the Super Bowl by 30 points, Kirk still has to go. So I hope one Panthers W doesn't make you feel like, okay, he finally got it done in the fourth quarter. When you look over his career, just look at him in the Vikings. 3 years. We went to the playoffs one time. Am I correct? I believe that's right.
This is year 3, yes.
Year 3, but yeah.
Okay, the first year he gets here is probably the best team that we've had in the last 3 years. Defense wasn't as bad. Not too many young guys. Still pretty much have remnants of 2017 when he got here. Missed the playoffs on a win and get in scenario. That's when I need you to show up. I don't need you to show up when we're 4-6, about to be 4-7, and then you want to win a game because the Panthers gave us the game. You know, a couple passing situations that they took that they didn't have to go to, or whatever it cost for them to bobble the game at the end of the game. Don't show up then. Monday night, that was cute. You got your first Monday night win this year. This is a grown man that plays quarterback in the league and as a veteran. We're not talking about a rookie. We're not talking about a guy that might have been a positional change. We might have moved him from receiver to quarterback. No, he was paid to be a quarterback. He's been playing quarterback for multiple years. And when we had to celebrate the first time you get a Monday night victory or the first time you win in the fourth quarter and you're making $30-something million, that's a problem. And I catch myself because I've defended Kirk plenty of times to people that hate the Vikings. It's like, well, Kirk is pretty good. He's doing his thing. We get super excited for the little things with Kirk. And then I flip through my channels. Mahomes up right now 17-0 with almost 230 yards at halftime. So it's different levels when it comes to quarterbacks, and regardless if we win the Super Bowl, we must move on. I don't care what happens at the rest of the season.
You know what? It's a little, I love the NBA, and I wish the Timberwolves were just more relevant on a regular basis. But it's like in the NBA, there's all-star players and there's max contract players, right? Well, Andrew Wiggins is a max contract player, but he's not a LeBron James max contract player. Like in the NFL, there's franchise quarterbacks. And Kirk Cousins, technically he's a franchise quarterback. And Matt Stafford is a franchise quarterback. But they're not Pat Mahomes franchise quarterback. And so sometimes I think we get stuck in this quarterback threw for 300 yards and 4,000 yards on the season.
Absolutely.
Right. But if there's 4 teams left in the playoffs and Pat Mahomes is over here and I get Tom Brady from 2 years ago and Russell Wilson, how good do you feel about whoever your franchise quarterback is when it's those 3 guys in the Final Four against you? That's the measuring stick.
I agree. It's true.
Yeah.
Drop my mic. Jabril, thanks for coming on, dude.
Appreciate it, man.
See you, Jabril.
I remember Jabril after the Packers game. He was great. You should keep
we gotta move on. I like it.
It's very true. It's very true.
Well, I think it's a little excessive if they
win the Super Bowl. I think they'll bring him back.
Although it would have been hilarious if the Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl 7 or 8 years ago with Joe Flacco, who was I think he was a free agent after the season, and they would have said, "Oh, great celebration there, Joe." So we're gonna let you explore the market.
Yeah, we got a guy that we like a little bit more.
But that would have been the right decision with Joe Flacco. All right, let's get Josh in here. One last call.
Josh, what's going on?
Hey guys.
What's up?
So I've been on here quite a bit and I watch you guys and I know that you're positive when you need to be positive, but I mean, Kirk Cousins has played very well over the last 5 weeks, and I don't think that it's on him. I think that it's on this team, and I know that we've had a lack of off-season activities, and I think it really plays into that. I get the idea of drafting a quarterback, and I think, if we draft like Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati in the 3rd round, we can develop him and be great, but we need to be on the Kirk Cousins bandwagon. We can't every week, every time we lose, blame it on him. It's not on him. I mean, I think it has taken him a little bit of time. And Declan has been on the Vikings bandwagon, and I know you guys, I've been around for a little while, and I get the disappointment. I get last week against the Cowboys, who we should have won against. It was a huge letdown, but that wasn't on Kirk Cousins. That was on our defense, and we've been up and down on the defense, and that's been super frustrating. So,
I would say real quick, just because I'm glad you're bringing this up. I think because I hear the word blame a lot, and when it comes to the Kirk Cousins discussion, and I just want to clarify one thing. Like the Dallas game is a perfect example. That loss was not Kirk Cousins' fault. Period. Full stop. Like he brought the Vikings back twice in the 4th quarter, and they did enough offensively to have the lead a couple of times, and then in that instance, the defense did not do a good job. So the one conversation is when the Vikings lose, who's to blame? Is it Kirk? And oftentimes this season it's not. But then the other side of the conversation, and that's when we get into like the Super Bowl blueprint, the Chiefs conversation, etc. Is there a quarterback?
There's like 5 of those.
Okay, but those guys win Super Bowls. I mean, you look at the last 20 years.
32 teams.
But you look at But you look at the last 20 years of Super Bowl winners, and 15 of those are Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And that's where I'm coming from. Like Pat Mahomes gets down by 3 touchdowns in a playoff game. If they would have lost that game, it's not Pat Mahomes' fault. But if you want to win a Super Bowl, sometimes you need your quarterback to bail out the things that are going wrong around you.
So is that on Kirk Cousins, or is it on Spielman?
But Josh, Josh, the problem is the team is fundamentally built completely wrong then. Because like what's on Kirk is Kirk's salary, which is the team's fault. This team is a defense run first team. What are you doing? Your salary cap, you've completely destroyed your salary structure compared to what it's supposed to be. So that's the problem, is that Kirk is a piece of a puzzle that doesn't fit because your GM and coach are basically saying our goal is to build with defense first, which is their goal, no question, and a run game, which is flawed, but that's the truth, second. And yet we're going to eat up a huge portion of our cap with our quarterback. It makes no sense. Like this team in retrospect should probably always try and draft and develop a QB, and then unless it's a guy who's going to Canton, get rid of that guy, because the second that this team with its philosophy pays a quarterback, it's making a mistake. Because you should be paying with their blueprint, your defense.
So we can agree that it's on Spielman. It's not on Kirk Cousins. He's trying his best.
Oh, he's trying hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
His problem is his mental aptitude ordinarily until today late in games is so poor that it's frustrating to watch, because Kirk is great when the pressure's off. Today, Kirk was good, and I give Kirk credit, but I'm just saying, if you're a Vikings fan, the frustrating thing to me is watching a team that is constructed in a way from a cap standpoint that literally makes no sense. And that's what's tough.
And to your point, Josh, if I think all of us can agree here, Kirk is who he is, and there might be a few unknown layers to his game. Maybe he can get to another level. Like he beat the Saints with that dagger throw to Thielen in the playoffs last year. But if we can all agree that Kirk is who he is, then paying him 15% of the salary cap, that's more on Spielman than on Kirk. So I think we agree in that.
And Reese, and look, the first shot with Kirk, I liked, because guess what? You went for it. I'm never going to say you shouldn't have gone for it. Where I have a major problem with what the Vikings did was the March extension. Swallow hard, accept the fact that your cap for 2020 is going to be basically gone, and move on after that. So my problem was contract 2. Yeah. I actually applauded contract 1 because what the hell, right? Because your goal was Kirk signs a 3-year guaranteed contract and you win a Super Bowl in year 1. That was the goal. I mean, that team had the window to win. So it's the second contract, I think, that basically frustrates fans and should, because that's the one where you said, okay, to free up X amount of cap space, you did that. That was a mistake.
Joe chimes in on YouTube and says, Cousins makes so much money, we can't afford a kick returner.
Punt returner. That's true. That's not a bad point, Joe.
BB made up for his mistake, though.
He did.
That's huge.
That was a nice catch.
He did for sure. Josh, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Yep. And that really is it. I mean, I'm with you. I don't fault them for taking a shot 3 years ago with the best free agent quarterback. Mm-hmm. And they just they thought it was going to work out differently. They thought they were going to just jump right back into Super Bowl contention in 2018, and that's not how the NFL works. And what's unfortunate for the extension is the extension brought Kirk's cap number in 2020 down from like 33 million to like 20 million.
Right.
And then freed up the Vikings to be able to go out and spend a little bit of money in free agency, most of that money on Michael Pierce to help shore up their defensive line. And he opted out. And I'm not mad at him. There's a pandemic raging throughout the United States and he opted out. And so if you could go back and how would they have known? I mean, they had to make these decisions, like the week before COVID started, right? They had to make some of these decisions.
Sure.
Or actually, I think the NFL pushed free agency back or what? No. Did they keep it? It was like right around when COVID was coming.
Yeah, Pierce did what he had to do for himself. Smart move for him.
And if they could go back now, knowing that Michael Pierce opted out, would they have just ran it back? Kirk, let's just play this out. This is a weird year. It's a pandemic year. Let's get you to free agency, and then we can figure out what to do beyond 2020. Yes, I think they would do that. Mm-hmm. And so now they're sort of stuck with a bunch of guaranteed money beyond 2020, and we'll see how that works. But anyhow,
it's a big win today, though. Come on, it's a big win. Kirk Cousins, comeback win. They beat the Panthers. They gave up 14 points on offense and still won. They muffed a punt. Look at the laundry list of mistakes that this team made, and they won. 2020. It's an unbelievable year all over the place, but in this league especially. Look at the ridiculous games.
Dude, okay. So are you guys keeping an eye on the Saints Broncos box score here? So
Oh, my God.
Kendall Hinton just completed his first pass of the game early third quarter, a 13-yard pass. So Kendall Hinton is the random dude who played quarterback at Wake Forest like 5 years ago.
Randy loves him.
Was so bad at quarterback in college, they made him a wide receiver, and he's basically just like an athlete on a practice squad here in the NFL. So he's in emergency quarterback mode. So I ain't blaming him. Like they looked around the room, were like, is there a doctor on the plane? And he's like,
And did you see too that I think Schefter had it that they tried the Broncos tried to get their quality control coach to be quarterback and they denied it.
Dude, that's hilarious.
They said he had the best understanding of the offense.
They're in trouble too. They're going to be in big trouble. You had your whole QB room, no masks on. Like the league is sending out memos like once a day being like, everybody has to wear a mask. And they're all like, oh, we're good with the mask. No, thanks. They're going to lose draft picks here. I guarantee they're in trouble.
So the Saints are up 17-0 in the third quarter on the Broncos. Kendall Hinton is 1 for 9 with 2 interceptions now. And Denver's also ran the ball 18 times for 2.5 yards a carry. So this is legitimately going to be like the worst offensive performance in NFL history.
Makes Spurgeon win look good.
Yeah. So
I don't think we're going to get that 8th team now in the playoffs in each conference, because if they're going to make teams play through this, I don't think they're going to cancel games. Like I think they're going to say, if we have to have you play at Tuesday at 4 a.m., you're playing then. I think we're going to stay put at 7 playoff teams in each conference.
This Baltimore-Pittsburgh game is not out of the woods yet on Tuesday, because I think Baltimore had another positive case or two today.
They had two more today.
Okay.
Yeah, they're at like 22. Is that right? 22 players.
Yeah.
So you might be right on that, but
the Gophers have had 40 players and staff members test positive in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, they're not playing Northwestern next week.
No, they're not.
That Northwestern game is going to be canceled.
No.
Correct.
Well, our Cousins takes are going to be canceled after he came back and daggered the Panthers and Teddy today.
You defended him the whole time. I recall vividly. I recall your defense of Cousins each and every week has been outstanding.
I'm going to go find the tape. Okay. People think I'm hard on Cousins. Listen, I see there's a couple people. Zachariah here wants me to wear a Cousins jersey tomorrow.
Are you sure that your tweet today did not indeed, as I suggested earlier on the show, motivate him? Are you sure he didn't see that tweet?
Okay, do you think
I'm going to shove it up Phil Mackey's behind?
I sent that tweet at 9:58 this morning.
Yeah.
Do you think he saw it?
I think Julie saw it. She called him. She said, Kirky, sweetheart, look at what Phil Mackey. Yeah, Kirkers, look at what Phil Mackey saying. But he said, Phil who? Oh, Mackey, that negative guy who just makes stuff up on Score North, the fake news. and she said, yes, that's him. And then he said, I'll show that Mackey guy.
Is he that Rumpelstiltskin looking troll on that Vikings YouTube channel
with that old Santa Claus
radio?
With that old Santa Claus looking dude? That's who that is.
Is he the Seltzer guy? No, he's not the Seltzer.
No, they all love you because you're a Teddy fan.
It's the other guy.
You were sitting there rooting for Teddy. You know what? You screwed the Panthers, because the second that you announced the Panthers were your team today, the Vikings were destined to win this game.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Purple Daily. Judd is going to have some written work on scorenorth.com from the stadium. And don't forget to check us out 7 days a week on the Purple Daily podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, scorenorth.com, and also the YouTube channel that you're likely consuming this on right now live, youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast, Purple Daily Podcast. Click the subscribe button, and don't forget about our other show and YouTube channel, Mackey and Judd. If you want additional Vikings discussion and Wolves discussion, Twins, Wild, etc., and action movie rewinds and crazy things like that. And the other YouTube channel, in addition to the podcast feed, is youtube.com/ScoreNorthMN. So that's a lot of info right there. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and appreciate all the listeners and Vikings fans that have jumped in to make this the most interactive show in Minnesota sports. For Judd, for Declan, for Phil. See you guys tomorrow.